The Memphis Showboats have a brand new head coach, and the gang is here to talk about that. Join us on episode 91 of the UFL podcast.
1, 2, 3.
Everybody to another amazing edition of the UFL podcast. I'm the ref representing Pro Football Newsroom, the leaders in spring football news, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we got a big week for ya. But before we get started, I'm joined as always by my man, Zach Kylman. How you doing today, my friend?
Oh, I'm fresh off coming away from a different side of the football universe. Over in Chicago, talking a little arena. I won't go into details for folks, by the way. So don't
no, Zach, don't just you can drop the nuggets here.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. But then I won't be taking photos anymore if you catch my drift. So
they won't invite you to the Legends table anymore.
Yeah, no Legends table. I can't go to the winner. I can't go with the winners anymore. I'll be stuck on the sidelines and not being able to help that. But right now it's UFL talk. I'm back. I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. There's tons going on in this off season with football leagues, and finally, one of the key cogs of this UFL off season. Well, at least two of them in one combined package gets finished and finalized. We can finally talk about this.
Wow. It's funny. On the last episode, we were talking about the news was coming. The news was coming soon. We even said it could be as soon as the day that the episode drops. We were only just a couple days off. But before we get into the news, we got a couple things that we got to shill. Here's the deal. You know what you're doing at UFL Podcast. What the hell are you doing? Follow us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You know the deal. We're even on Threads. Go on Threads. We don't post there, but we're there. Just in case we do, you might want to follow us, hit the bell, do all the things. Since we're over on YouTube as well, subscribe, click the bell. It builds morale. Were you feeling down? Were you hoping that your team got a brand new head coach and it didn't? Well, I know I might have been. I'm not saying that. I would never say that.
Wait a minute.
But if you want to build a little bit of morale, click that bell. It feels good and it lets you know every time that we drop a new video and we go live, just like we will be for Spring Stock 4. It happening.
Whoa.
We don't know many of the details ourselves now, other than it's happening. So you want to make sure you subscribe, clicking the bell, following us on social media. Hey, if you want to support us, here's what you do. Go over to breakingt.com/USFL newsroom or use the promo code USFL newsroom. Old school. And you can save some money on some USFL gear, XFL gear. Hey, hell, you into the Major League Baseball? They got that gear over there as well, and you can save yourself 10% off by using that code again, USFL newsroom. Get signed up. Boy, oh boy, Zach, man, we got right. I feel like I got things to do, places to go with that intro today.
You're on one today. You are on one today.
Isn't it amazing though, Zach? You see pre-show me and mid-show me, and going into this show, I was like, man, I don't know if I have the energy that I need to have to host a premier podcast such as ours, the UFL podcast. I said, I don't know. I'm not feeling very reffy today. I'm not feeling very reffed up. But the second that we started going, here I am. I'm ready to go. I'm signed up. Put me in the middle of a football field because I'm going to help the Roughnecks go 12-0, rough them up. That's how I'm feeling.
That's how it goes, dude. I love it's classic riff. Even with the show where we have nothing to talk about with anything Roughnecks, still got to put it in. It's just how it works. But I'm glad you're pumped up. Honestly, the fact we get to do two shows back to back, after getting off the summer break a little last week, it's nice, and again, it's going to be it's going to keep more getting consistent. I get to more talk to you on show more and more. Hell, once things go awry with our scheduling, we'll be back on Monday for Around the UFL because we got our whole panel over there. And we're kicking that back into gear with this pretty much takes on the similar news we're doing today. But, we give it to you and then we break it down and get crazy on ATU. That's how this works, Well,
and there's differing opinions, Zach. I feel like we're the good guys, me especially. I'm the best guy. My team.
You got to hear from Ducky. He's so talkative.
You never know what kind of popcorn he's going to bring.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to be buttered? Is it going to be salted? Is it going to be buttered and salted?
Is it going to be Reese's Pieces sprinkled in with hot popcorn?
Speaking
like
of
some people like.
I know this is what people tune in for, but speaking of that, I was just talking to my wife the other day about how we haven't been to the movies in forever, and I'm trying to find a movie to go to. I was thinking Beetlejuice. I still haven't found the time to go. I know it's going to be expensive, but there's something about it. I haven't gone to a movie and had movie popcorn, and I don't know. There's something about it where I just need to go find a movie so I can go have some crappy theater popcorn. And I heard Beetlejuice isn't that bad. I heard it's not too great either, but you know what? That's fine with me as long as it's not horrible.
I think for me, I think just real quick on that movie, first off, releasing at the beginning of September, and people are claiming that September's Halloween season. It's not to me. It's October, but now it's closer to that to me. Now you get a little more fall-esque elsewhere. Maybe not as much in Texas, definitely not out here in Arizona, but other places. But that being said, you need to get out to a movie, my friend. You're talking theater popcorn. I'm hitting the movies this weekend myself. I got some buddies convincing me Transformers 1. I got to go check that out.
See, this is what I love. I have noticed that the movie theaters have been doing what I said they should always be doing, playing old movies. Throw Citizen Kane in there.
Well, this is brand new. This is a brand new movie. This ain't the 80s movie. No, this is brand new, man.
I didn't even know I didn't know they had a new trans. Yeah. This is how far out of the loop I am, man. I was looking for. Anyway, let me get back to the sports. I was about to go down another.
Movie's done. We'll chat about this. Tell you what, update next week on how our films were.
We'll let you know.
We'll hold it on that.
I'll keep you posted. Here's the news. Here's the thing that everybody tuned in for. The Memphis flipping Showboats. They don't only have a new head coach. They got a new general manager as well. We have a couple more details. Our dude, James Larson from Pro Football Newsroom, he was on the press call this week. He's got some of those details, and we're going to get into them. But the first one up, Ken Whisenhunt, Zach. There were some of the names. We heard some of the names that were floating around in the background. I'll be honest, Ken Whisenhunt wasn't one of them that I had heard up until more closely to when everything was revealed. There were some coaches that, familiar names, people that maybe weren't in spring football. But Ken Whisenhunt, I'll tell you, if I was a Showboats fan, I'd be pretty happy right now. I'm curious, before we jump into all things considered, what are your initial thoughts on this hire?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Ken's one that I wasn't sure I would even hear about, because it feels like he's another one that kind of, when we're talking about coaches, you like familiar name, but like slipped into obscurity or just kind of went to the side a little bit to the side and kind of went out of the public light. He's one that definitely has done that since his last tenure with Tennessee. Now, many of you know him as the former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. Basically one good defensive play possibly away, or one good defensive drive possibly away from having his whole script as a coach completely flipped from Super Bowl 40. But that being said, here we are. And credit, or not 40, but sorry. Basically, he was one good play, and it was 40. I'm self-doubting myself here. Just forget what I said. Anyhow, Ken, to me, and funny enough, to a few people I talked to, kind of reminds me of Mike Nolan right now, with how he came in. Here's a guy, very familiar face to those that are football fans. Someone that, again, I think kind of fizzled out in his NFL tenure, and kind of, he had spots, but wasn't really getting, I would say, good progress in the NFL. His last NFL gig was with the Chargers back in 2019. He then went to the college scene as an analyst. He's been in the college scene since 2021. And now he gets his shot to go back pro, but it's at a smaller scale, and now it's at a developmental scale. And I think that's kind of what I feel like he's jumping in, is like, hey, what if I can, and I think he might have got that itch from college. What if I can go somewhere and take these guys? Maybe they need that little extra talent coming out or a little extra help coming out. And I think that's what's happening here. Mm-hmm. And I think there's more analysis in the fact that not only do you have a coach that might want to have that track again, like Mike is having right now. And I think Mike's, as he said multiple times, he enjoys this. Is one of his favorite periods of his coaching career. But, it's a veteran, very familiar name, which, as you and I and our Discord, by the way, in the description have talked a lot about, what was the direction the league was going to go? Was it going to be a veteran name, somebody that's recognizable, someone that has some draw and, still maybe has some stuff left, but is more gone from his NFL career, college career? Or would it be a youth name, somebody that has, shown some promise in the league, internal hire? Mm-hmm. Well, one went the way, and here we are.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought we were going to go with a younger candidate. I thought we would go with a candidate maybe with the name power. I know some people might laugh at that, but I think Whisenhunt does have some name power. Now, granted, I did live in Arizona when the Cardinals went to the Super Bowl. I may be the reason that they lost it because I just bring that kind of bad luck wherever I go to those teams. Granted, I don't live in Detroit, and look at the Lions now. They're okay. They're good enough. But the one thing I'll say about the hire for Whisenhunt, I think he's actually going to be really good for spring football. You look at when he was successful and is with that Cardinals team with Kurt Warner, which Zach, more than anybody, has that history with arena ball. And had there been a spring football alternative around back then, there's a good argument that he would be playing in the UFL of that time and maybe not the Iowa Barnstormers of the AFL.
And my God, that Super Bowl 43 run, by the way, correcting myself, 40, he won as an assistant with Pittsburgh. That's what I got confused. But that Super Bowl 43 run was impressive. Remember, he was an offensive genius coming in at the time. That's how he got the job with Arizona. That's, brought Kurt Warner in, helped revitalize his career. Remember, Kurt Warner, when he came to the Cardinals, he came as a backup, by the way. He was a backup in New York for the Giants under Eli Manning. A lot of people thought his career was dead. He had no gas left in the tank. He helped revitalize and probably, I would argue, give that final bit left to Kurt's Hall of Fame career. I'm not saying that he wouldn't have gotten in without it, but Kurt Warner's remembered not only as an incredible greatest show on turf, the driving force behind those Rams, but that Cardinals era where he stepped in, that's some of the best football he's ever played. And Ken Whisenhunt's responsible for a lot of that, for helping get his career back on track.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting about this, and we may have touched on this a little bit earlier, we'll dive in a little bit now. Ken Whisenhunt is the one that actually reached out to the UFL. Once he heard about the opening in Memphis, he was intrigued. He was looking back to get back, in a more fulfilling role, I would say. Mm-hmm. And, Daryl Johnston, he spoke about it. They had a press call earlier this week. I think I mentioned James Larson. He had joined the call. But here's what Daryl Johnston had to say. When Ken called, I was very, very excited. And I was hopeful that he was calling in regards to the Memphis opening, which, as we spoke about, he was, which is a great thing all involved, I think. When he let me know that it was something he would love the opportunity to compete for as part of the UFL moving forward, Johnston was excited. We always talk about trying to get the best coaches who are the best teachers, who have the best contacts, and our staffs in the UFL. Those little details, they matter. And you know what? Again, kind of going to those, he's not just a coach in my mind. I think he's a guy that can be a teacher for a lot of these guys, and realistically, a rebuild. This is arguably the largest rebuild, maybe tied with Houston when it comes to players. But if you even look at this, the whole staff is going to be different. Basically, it seems like, maybe not all of it, but you have a new head coach, you have a new general manager, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. I think this is a good opportunity for Whisenhunt to kind of show the football world, hey, like you said, Zach, I'm not done yet. Look at this thing I'm doing over here. Yeah, okay, every coach has their bad day, and maybe he didn't end things off the greatest with the Titans, but you maybe have, all you need to do is get them in the playoffs. You get them in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
You look at what the Maulers did, going from having that worst season, winning the Pooper Bowl, getting into, getting the draft picks, all of that, going to the championship. You didn't win it, but you went to the championship. I mean, that goes a long way. And if he can do that for the Showboats, I got a feeling that the Liberty Bowl is going to be looking pretty good. Which, interjection here real quick, they put out the pricing structure for the season tickets for the Liberty Bowl.
Yep.
It is so damn cheap. It is like half the price of the Roughneck season tickets.
Oh, I
bet. Those are cheap. But yeah, you could still get, like, I think it was around $120 for the cheapest season ticket they had.
Well, I'll tell you here. You got to think, you're replacing your head coach and GM, so you have to keep fans honest with bringing in a whole new regime of personnel department, essentially, and play on field guys that you're going to be able to get the best out of what you're going to bring on turf. That's not going to be a train wreck of a year where it's 2 wins. That's the hope. The other part of it is, I mean, hey, that stadium construction, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but you have to play around it. And you also kind of have, not saying you can't get people, but I almost feel like you have to entice people more with stuff in the background just happening, because they kind of have to play through it with what they're doing. Now, credit on the other side of this, league keeps going. They're going to have one of the best venues in the entire league once this is upgraded. Some of these shots, if you've seen the renders here, Stefan, they're fantastic. But you got to get through that first. So,
yeah.
And again, with hiring Ken, I think that's, again, recognizable name. I think it's a guy that, again, it's someone that I feel like is like a Mike Nolan type. And it's not just me. Like, I'm not associating my life as like instant analysis, but like, it's funny. I'm talking to my dad immediately as this happens, and he and I were like on the exact same page too. He's like, this is like Mike Nolan. Again, someone that needs to get a restart. He's out of the NFL scene. He got kind of an outside perspective look and getting that itch back. So there's that. And then again, you finally get your GM set up. So now you can start taking guys in that, maybe aren't, say, off of opinions of certain people, as we might read a little later. Because it's interesting. Like, signings have happened, just neither of them have been in the building yet or on call yet to do that, really.
Well, it's interesting, right? So we kind of brushed over this a little bit. So we had 12 candidates for the job. It kind of got whittled down to a handful. Whisenhunt made the cut. Like you just stated, though, James Larson, quick to ask at the press call that they had on, the number of signings that were happening prior to Whisenhunt being named. Honestly, you did a better job of explaining it prior to us getting on to this call. No curtains. I have no shame here.
That's okay.
Do you want to dive into more detail on kind of the learnings from that front?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll read off the quote after this, but basically what they did, to keep some player base to come in with, and to kind of help with not starting from bare bones. Because keep in mind, it's been several months since the season's been over. Free agency's been open now for near 2 months at this point. So, they basically went in and said, hey, we might not have the head coach and GM, but we can at least go and talk to the coaching staff that was under Flip and kind of get an analysis on who you think would be a guy that they would essentially hire on, bring back in anyway, and that was good talent from last year they would be able to hire on that was interested in coming back. So that's really what they did, is what in that dead period. And it's just to give some base for Ken Whisenhunt, who we'll be talking about Jim Manos here momentarily, to at least start with. And here's the full quote this is the full quote from the media call, by the way. So it says, quote, and it's from Daryl Johnston, by the way, quote, I think the big thing is with the structure of our contracts and vulnerability of where we could have been with another competitive league, we want to make sure that we had a good foundation for the new HC and GM when they came in, that they wouldn't have a roster that lost several of their key players. We made a decision that was in the best interest of the league moving forward. We sat down with coaches on staff for Memphis and asked them to help us structure something that would leave Memphis with a good foundation. We wanted it to be thorough. And, the part that I think also drives this home, is the competition piece. Because again, this isn't just, we're not talking only UFL is the main one in the door. We're starting up with, not saying that you want to, if you can go to the UFL, fine, but you got multiple different arena leagues that are starting their free agency in October, like for new players. You've got, as much as I know we haven't talked as much on this too big, but the IFA exists, and who knows when they're going to kick things off soon enough.
More
the CFL,
details coming soon, apparently.
And then also the CFL is still in season, and they're going to have guys that they're going to request to get contracts or not. So if you want, especially with guy in North America, if you want to compete and keep those players, and there's some great players, and you can still be competitive, and they don't want to leave, don't leave them hanging. One thing I've learned that you and I have learned, I think, talking with players, or like at least having players discuss with us and colleagues here at PFN, these guys want to know what's going on. And if they want an option that they enjoy, want to come back to, they can't wait around forever. They have, if people are coming to them in their inbox and they're giving them opportunities to go somewhere, they can talk with their agent, and that agent goes, you know what, maybe it's best you go take something and get that film now. So, reading that analysis, I kind of get it. There's been some great signings that Memphis has brought back that were pretty good talents already, or people that showed potential. So that being said, like, you don't want to lose out on those guys if you don't have to. So I get it. Plus, it's associating, you talked with coaches. The coaches at least know a decent amount of what roster they feel would be a great fit to bring back. So that's a nice sentiment to hear, that they at least consulted with at least the staff that may or may not stay. Again, Ken still gets to decide, but at least the former DeFilippo staff, they talked to in an extensive amount when making these decisions for the Showboats.
Which you have to imagine probably puts those coaches a little bit at ease too, because there's probably uncertainty. Like you mentioned, there's a new coach coming in, there's a new GM. We don't even know what it is. Do we even have a job? And so if they're kind of consulting back and forth, it's make them a little bit less likely to start looking for jobs elsewhere as well. Because again, like you mentioned, there's opportunities all over the place. Who would ever thought, if you would ask me, 2 years before the AAF kicked off, if we would have this much alternative football available, I would say probably not. But here we are, because we have numerous arena outlets. We have the CFL, we have ELF, we have IFA potentially. It seems like news is coming out soon. And we have, of course, the UFL, which is real. If you combine everything all up, we're looking at, season 5.
Yeah.
Right. 4.5. I don't know.
Shout out to the Rhine Fire, by the way. Back-to-back champs, baby. Let's get at it.
Sign them up.
I'm thrilled. And also, random thing, Ben Holmes, good to see he's doing well. He was with the Vienna Vikings, by the way, in that championship this past.
And they locked him down right away. They said, you know what? We're not letting you go to the UFL. We want you back.
But
they just signed him today, I think.
There's competition. And even if that's like minimal in the ELF, look, they're still looking for good American people to hire on. So there's a lot more in the space now that's going to be asking around, trying to get people. So it's good to hire on. I'll tell you one that I was happy that I saw go across the wire. They got Troy Williams back, who ended the season starting as quarterback for the Showboats. And again, these guys could scatter to the wind if they wanted to, if they didn't feel comfortable coming back, so having someone like a Troy Williams who's under your belt right now, at least you have a quarterback that was pretty solid at the end of the season. And as we remember, Memphis just needs to figure out what's going on with their front line. Their defense did the best they could to maintain things, but as you and I have talked at multiple extensive times, and this will be the responsibility of Jim Monos, who we'll talk about a little bit momentarily, and Ken Whisenhunt, figure out your front five on that side. Troy's an athletic being. We saw he can make plays, but you can't escape sacks forever. That's what we saw last year.
No, not at all. So like you mentioned, Jim Monos coming in as general manager. Now interesting. See, this is one thing that I always love to see. He has prior spring league experience, and on a couple numerous occasions. So he was, let's see here, he was the director of player personnel for the San Diego Fleet of the AAF in 2019. So at least for the half, a little bit over half season that they were around. But then he came on as senior director of football operations for the XFL from 2022 to 2023. So he has even closer ties to what is now the UFL, because as we all know, the USFL and the XFL merged last year ish going into, this year. You get my point. So one, I love to see that because to me, you kind of want, especially as a GM who's kind of helping find those players to build out the team. He's a guy that's been around the spring football scene. And I don't know, there is a certain kind of player that I think does excel in spring football. Now, a good player is going to be a good player no matter what. But there are certain players that I feel like, and similar to what we've seen in Arena in the past, there's players that will become the superstar of that league and maybe not move on to the NFL. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. No, sure, everybody's goal is to move up, but you know what is even nicer? Having the opportunity to do the thing that you love, your dream, for a few more years. And I think somebody like this is going to be able to help kind of scout that out and help bring some of those people to the team. Again, like we said, they're rebuilding. Now, he doesn't just have spring experience. He has experience with the Bills, serving as director of player personnel from 2013 to 2017. Interestingly enough, overlapped with the CEO of the UFL's time with the Bills, right? There's a lot of Bills stuff happening in spring football, whether it's people there currently, people there in the past. But this is just another one of those names. Now, again, if I was a Showboats fan, I'd be pretty happy right now. In comparison to having no coach, no general manager, to me, these are some good names to join on board. Now, there were some people clowning on him because he had his Uber Eats listed on his LinkedIn. And you know what? There's no shame in that game. Well, you know what? You got to keep your electricity on and pay the bills. I mean, you know what? He didn't even have to put it on LinkedIn. That's how much of a man Jim Manos is. He said, you know what? I'm keeping my family fed. Eat it. You know what? So you know what? Luke, I'm looking at you. Everyone, no. It's all fun and games here. It's all
of course it is. I mean, for God's sake, if you want me to go into my list of stuff, let me just double check if I still have this on my LinkedIn. Yeah, I still got my Uber and Lyft drive experience up there too.
I got PFN on my LinkedIn.
Hey, sign you up. I need to add that on myself. So I need to get that on. I don't know why I haven't done that yet, but we'll get that sorted later. You and I can talk. Anyway, I think the thing that grabs me, yes, the Buffalo Bills portion, that's the clear connection. Okay, that's right there. You can look at that and say, oh, time frame. Boom, easy. That Russ Brandon was there. That's a pretty quick phone call if he's out and about. The experience with the fleet, I think, is pretty valuable. I think now we've seen enough in the last 5 years of people that have been in the alternate and spring football scene now, not just the NFL, but we're seeing guys that are used to okay, what does it take for me to run this type of operation where, different salaries, different budgets, different talent pool. That's not the cream of the crop, but it's guys that it's the next half step below or something like that for a lot of them, or guys that are just trying to get back up that are there. They just are looking for that place to get in because competition's tight. And so having someone like that, I think is really great to have, the fact he also, again, worked with one of the better teams in the AAF, in terms of, I think, helping build that roster out. That was a playoff team before things shut down later in that season. So, I think that grabs me the most, honestly. So I'll take that. Again, connections with the XFL as well in the last few years. It seems like it's a pretty quick and easy replacement for Dennis Polian, and somebody that, I think a little less than Dennis has even more background to what we follow, where can I find these guys that are the diamonds in the rough? Because that's what you're trying to do. It's diamonds in the rough, guys. Your stars are the ones that the NFL scouts or college scouts missed out on and didn't fully appreciate. That's the people you're going to see that blow up and do this thing. Like a Ricky Person, I think, like last year we saw someone that came up through the indoor scene and was scouted out by Zach Potter and crew. And look at him. He was basically at one point going to be their bell cow back and was one of the main reasons they won the UFL championship last year. Mm-hmm. So those are the people you're looking for. And it takes good personnel people like that know the scene and know what they're trying to look for. Just take a little extra glance deeper into the microscope when you're checking a player out.
Yeah. Now I'll be curious to see how much does this team rebrand itself in the vision of Whisenhunt and Manos, right? So
Good question.
I think we'll see a lot of new players join on board. I think they'll do their best to kind of scout a whole bunch of guys going into training camp just to kind of test the waters, see what works best for them. But it'll be interesting to see. I'll be keeping my eyes on the coaching staffs, right? The rest of the staffs, and kind of seeing, okay, is anybody leaving? Is anybody new coming in? Because I think there's an opportunity here to shake things up, right? Whenever there's a new coach, there's an opportunity to shake things up. So it'll be an interesting few months, I think, as we head into the new year and get closer to training camp. Always, it's funny, even though we're deep into the off season, every year it feels like it rings true. Once you get to September, that's when the ball starts rolling a little. Mm-hmm. October, maybe a little bit more, maybe similar, November, December. And then by January, we're going to be running on all full cylinders, going full steam ahead with UFL news left and right. And I'm looking forward to it. But the fact that we're getting some of these, I would say, feeling like bigger nuggets earlier than we would have in the past, especially last year. Last year was a little bit different with the merger. Everything was really tight-lipped, and a couple things leaked out, and bits and pieces came out, and half of a thing came out. But it wasn't even really until the new year, until, the news became official, the teams became official, and then what happened? It was full onslaught of news. What I would like to see, though, I would like to see Fox throw some UFL promos during some of these NFL games. Maybe I missed them, but I haven't seen any this season yet. Maybe we'll wait till the playoffs. I know they've done that in the past, but I would like to see it. Yeah, and we talked about the venue thing in the past. If you had any doubts that the UFL was only leveraging or Fox was only leveraging the UFL to have extra content on venue, I mean, some are saying it could be dead in the water. It could be over before it started, which is
it's a weird time right now with that whole property.
But I'll say this: by them bringing on Whisenhunt, to me, that's a stronger play. To me, there's a message there that says, "Hey, look, we're here, and we're like Daryl Johnston said, like Moose said." We're looking for the best of the coaches, the teachers, whatever it is, the people that want to come join our league. We want them here. And I feel like this signing kind of rings true when it comes to that statement. I know there was a lot of folks that were looking for that younger head coach, me included. I would love to see it, but I'll say there is something positive to them hiring a bigger name. You could argue for good or bad, but I would say I think there is something good to it at minimum from the messaging standpoint that they're not messing around. They're here. They're going to be, they want to be as good as they can be. And again, if he takes that team to the UFL championship or even the playoffs, you get him to the playoffs.
Honestly,
to me, that's a win.
Just get him to a playoff matchup. I think that would do wonders. Either that or he'd just be even more competitive. I think, if you followed any of this roster, remember we're talking, this is the former Tampa Bay Bandits that did get converted. It's been a 500 team best, and last year was the low point. And I think that's something that they're trying to see. Can we get someone that can break through now? And, it's some people got to lose, some people got to win. That's how it is. It's just, I think one thing that showed last year, just listening to comments, listening to talk and conversation about the league, they really want to fix Memphis, I think, as a market, or at least get that interest back. It felt like last year that some people, it seemed in comments, I don't know if you agree, but they felt like they missed the mark in that market really bad. And that they know they have it. They've seen it. We've seen it, that it's an interested market, but they got to get it re-energized is the thing. And this is a big year, I think, for the Memphis market for them. I think you're going to see a lot of push to get that market back up to where they want it to be, at least a step in the right direction. Because again, I think there's great people down there we've talked to, and there's great fans down there. They just got to get winning football, and not to mention, you get the fans back. I'm telling you, the next season, they will have one of the gems of this league when it comes to venues. That that mock-up they're doing for Memphis, it looks fantastic, but you got to get to that point. You don't want to, I don't want to talk about any potential changes, but it feels like feels like this year's a big year to get the Memphis market going again, or at least to get it to where it was in the USFL when it was 2 seasons ago.
For sure. Well, we know in the past there was rumors that there was different ownership teams that may be interested in different teams across the league, one of which may have been Memphis. I mean, this with bringing on Whisenhunt, I mean, this is speculation zone, by the way.
Yes, it is definitely speculation.
But I don't know. It feels to me that they're trying to put at minimum extra attention into Memphis, show the fans, because you said, Zach, they have a strong community already out there. They got the yacht club.
Oh yeah,
they have their own barbecues and grills and all sorts of things. I mean, sponsor of Springstock 3 and 2 and all sorts of different events we've had. So yeah, I know I think that I hope at least good things for Memphis. Now I know they're not going to make it to the championship. Sue me, but we already know who is. It's the Houston Roughnecks, because we're going to go 12-0. So that means they're at least losing 2 games. Now, if they can get out of the rest of those 8 games, if they can win like 6 to 7 of them, they're probably looking in pretty good shape. Can they beat the Stallions? I don't know. We'll see. But I can tell you they're not going to beat the Roughnecks, because we're going 12-0, rough them up. And their stadium might be nice in, not this upcoming season, but the season after, but it will still only be second only to TDECU Stadium. Beautiful TDECU Stadium.
I mean, just think about this. You get TDECU back this coming year. We get the Ford Field items, which, I mean, haven't heard a minute about that, but I mean, seems like they're talking with them again to get it done. Because again, it's one of the best venues they have in their disposal. You get the Liberty Bowl essentially marked up and set up the way it is. I mean, we're talking some great places these teams are playing at.
And
now.
You got new turf in St. Louis now, which that was always my hang up with the dome.
And it's not going to look like it's from 2015 anymore. It's going to look like it's, again, brand new venue. And they're trying to get more funding for the venue too, besides the turf. There's good places. That's building that direction. So, just got to keep the markets interested.
100%.
And they know that. We know
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the first game back at TDECU. I'm looking forward to that first damn tailgate at TDECU. I'm looking forward to it all, man. It is, I know with the select few people that I talk to in the area that are interested in the league, they are amped up. They are ready to go. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't even be shocked if the fans of the Renegades and fans of the Brahmas are a little bit happy that TDECU is back, because I know a lot of those guys travel. Brahma Babe, she's one of them. I've seen her at both those Roughnecks games. I've seen her up in Arlington. I've seen her at the championship. So, I mean, these people travel around. And so, the better you can make it, the better all around. Now, I would love to see, and I know we're basically wrapping up the show, but this is something I would love for the UFL to do. You got 3 teams in Texas.
Yep.
Throw something out there where you do a deal where you do a bus ride. You rent a bus and you say, hey, if you're in Houston and Houston's playing in Dallas this week, you can spend $50 and you take the bus there, you get a seat, and then you take the seat, you get a bus trip back. And you roll deep with a whole bunch of people that are, you create traveling fans that way.
Thank you.
I know I and my wife would get on. I'll probably drive to the game, but if there was a bus where I'm like, you know what? I can chill with my tailgate folks and just do a road trip in a bus with them. I'll probably take the bus. You know what I mean? Screw it. Maybe the logistics aren't there. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe ask me more than $50. I don't know. I feel like there's a price point that could work.
I was going to say, I doubt that it's not logistical or it can't work, because I'll tell you, this has been a thing that's been going on in arena leagues for years now. They use these bus tour things when it comes to close by opponents. I mean, for Christ's sake, when they were both in the NAL, Jacksonville and Orlando used to do this on the regular, where they would bus guys up and back. And it created good rivalries because you would bring in fans to those venues and, engage more. And credit, some of these our UFL fans out there are fantastic at driving venues. I've seen, again, the Brahmas do really well at getting their group to travel, and again, I've seen Houston fans out in Arlington. I've seen Arlington fans go elsewhere and about, but you can help bring that up if you are able to with the right packages. I think what it doesn't help right now, and maybe you'll agree with me on this, is ticketing office is still kind of only located really in Arlington that I'm aware of. So like you do have people that go out to these markets as per se, but it's still run everything into the central hub. All the league office personnel and such are in Arlington, Texas. So that with the organizing things, I don't know if that's just a logistical problem because it's that. The buses you should do, though. I mean, the Texas teams, it's the Texas Triangle. They're all drivable within reason for fans to ride on a bus to go and rally for your troops. I think that's a freaking idea. They need to talk about it. If they haven't talked about it, or at least have, someone's got to get that executed soon. Because, I mean, it should make more sense in a league like this, even more so than even Arena. Because there's more expenditures and, I think, flexibility in this case. So that's my thought.
With 3 Texas teams, you're looking at what? 3 times 6 games a year, 30 games? I don't know, whatever it is, something like that. So 6 games a year, I think is what it would come out to.
Yeah.
So minimum, that's not, even if you do it for half of them, do it for one. You know what I mean? Test it out. See what happens. I know it's something they were talking about doing in 2020 when the Roughnecks went up to play the Dallas Renegades at the time. They ultimately didn't do it, but we had a whole boatload of Roughnecks fans come up there.
And now, think about this. So Houston, remember, they're not, this is one thing I always is interesting thing that we remember. Houston's not in the same conference as San Antonio or Arlington. And
right.
We used to talk about how in the 2020 XFL, Texas Throwdown was a 2-part series. Now, okay, it's 1 game a year. Like you can make that essentially like a college rivalry day because they get 1 shot. You get 1 shot to beat your big rival up in Dallas Dallas Metro. You get 1 big shot to beat your rival down in Southern Texas, in Houston, in H-Town. Like, pump that up. They kind of did last year. They did in 2020. Get back to that. That's a rivalry, people. Like, let's do this. The Texas teams keep pumping that.
This year, if they because they did make a Texas Throwdown t-shirt, which I had to buy, but I would say one critique. If you do another one for this next season, instead of using silhouettes of players, use real players. Put the player. That's the one thing I loved about those breaking t-shirts. I loved in the original, well, not the original, but the 2020 XFL, because I had a whole bunch of PJ Walker gear.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were really good at churning out gear for the players. I would love to see more of that. Maybe we will now that things, the merger, I'll give them the reasons all day and night. That merger was rough, and the fact that they got on the field on TV, minimal issues, sign them up. We have a lot more leeway, a lot more runway this time. Let's get back into some more of those things. I would love to see it.
Right, man. I'm in.
Any other topics, Zach? I know it's off season. We could go off topic. I don't know if you have anything.
I mean, nothing crazy. I'll pound my chest and say thank you, Cole Hicatini, for coming back to Michigan Panthers. So, again, it's a lot of, if you guys aren't keeping up, transactions are still regularly-ish coming in. There's still got days where it says there's nothing going on, which those are the funniest ones. There are no transactions today, guys. Breaking news.
At least they're telling us, though. Nobody has to wait around because they know there's people that are like, where are the transactions? Where are they? I got to update my spreadsheet.
I'll take that.
So you know what? They're doing them a salad. They're saying, you know what? Take the night off. Go play some Sudoku or whatever you want to do. You're good.
But yeah, I'm happy for that. Samson Nakua's back as well. So it's more Michigan stuff, but we're bringing the squad back. This time we're gonna make it different. We're gonna pull out all the stops. Feeling it. Maybe we'll get our shot. We'll see.
We will see. We will see. Well, that's another big fun week of the UFL podcast. It's, maybe not the longest episode, but not all of them need to be 2 hour long bangers. I'm sure ATU will ramble on for 20 hours on that show. So you know what? Another reason to subscribe. Click the bell. It builds morale. It also lets you know when we drop new videos and when we go live, just like Around the UFL this Monday, just like Spring Stock 4 for opening weekend of the United Football League, and many, many more. What the hell are you doing? Social media at UFL Podcast. Follow us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, you name it. We're there. Go get signed up.
Get on there,
we
people.
Already talked about the YouTube. Discord. I always forget the Discord at the beginning, but the Discord really is the greatest thing that PFN, maybe myself, has ever been a part of creating. Link down in the description below. A whole bunch of fun, good conversation, sometimes football related, sometimes not. And if you want to support us, easy way to do it. Head over to breakingt.com/USFL newsroom. Nope, you didn't hear me wrong. It's USFL newsroom. Or you can simply use the promo code USFL newsroom. You can save yourself on 10% on any retro now at this point, XFL 2020 gear. Retro at this point, USFL season 1 and 2 gear. You can also find NFL, MLB, NHL, you name it, they got it. And you can save 10% off using code USFL newsroom. I think that's it this week, folks. I think that's all. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow Zachy Boy because he plays video games on Tuesday and he's always dropping soda reviews, pop reviews. We never talk about that on the show, but I wanted to.
I appreciate the plug. And yeah, if you want to check it out, Tuesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Right now it's mostly football games. That being said though, him and I, we've already been scheming. We're going to get a special UFL podcast edition of the stream. Just need to pick a game and get some things sorted out. You know, it's all technical, but we'll get it done. But yeah, Tuesdays, 8 o'clock every week. You can sit with me. We'll chat football, watch me play NFL Street right now, or going to be Blitz the League soon. So yeah, thanks for the promo, my friend. You didn't have to do that.
Well, I didn't, I felt like the show is so short. I was like, I got to slide something else in here. We never damn talk about it. But you doing it like, I always see, that's all I see is your posts about something. Real quick, I got to ask, how was the Oreo? Both ways, I guess. It was, I assume probably not very good.
Yeah, because I did try the cookie while I was in Chicago. I was like, screw it. It's at this 7-Eleven. I'll pick it up. To those that want to try, I'll give you the quick, the TLDR. The soda is much better than the cookie. I'll give it that. Much more enjoyable experience. The cookie's like if I dumped Coca-Cola on the cookie, and that's what it was.
So is the drink like a creamy cola almost?
It's like, it was more like light because it's Coke Zero, but like it was a little lighter. It wasn't creamy. It's like, but it does, that one I like because it does taste like an Oreo mostly, and they don't like distract you with the cola flavor. So that was okay. It was like a liquid Oreo. The other one's like if you have an Oreo and you just freaking spilled your Coke on it. And it just Coca-Cola, by the way. I'm not getting freaking demonetized over something like that.
Half of our crowd's like, oh, hell yeah, they're running to the store right now.
This is going to get me psyched. But yeah, try it at your at least once. Try once.
I still have to, and I have to do it sooner. They're all going to go bad, but I have all sorts of snacks from the UK. Like roasted chicken potato chips.
Oh my gosh.
Like beef rings and all sorts of weird and wacky things that I have to do soon. Otherwise they're just going to go bad. They're just going to be grosser than they potentially could be.
Oh yeah.
So I'm probably going to record that this weekend. And I don't know. I'm working on all sorts of things, Zachy Boy. You know me, I never stop. I just got a promotion at work. We're doing this show. We're doing ATU. I'm looking at even adding a couple other things to the list. Hey, you know what? YOLO, baby. You only live once.
Let's get at it, man.
One of these days, I'm going to be old. It's going to be like, I don't know, one of those movies where they're talking to a grandkid and they're like, well, one of these days. That's going to be me. And you know what? There's two paths to that. There's one path where I said, you know what? I just sat around and I worked hard and I have this house. And there's another path where I say I worked hard and I have this house, and look at these cool press passes from spring football, and look at this podcast that I did with my buddy, and sooner or later, I'm going to be too old to do any of it. So I might as well do it now while I can. And so that's why we do these things. And this is why I always encourage people. If you want to do a podcast, you want to do a thing, you should do it. I mean, competition, who cares about competition? Everybody's got competition. You think the best rapper in the world became the best rapper in the world by not having competition? I mean, somebody's got to be the best. Somebody's got to be the worst. But I mean, you know, even the best isn't always solidified to be the best, right? So I think everybody should do it.
Take
do
your
whatever
shot.
you want.
Yeah, take
you
your shot,
want to build
man.
birdhouses? Build birdhouses. You should do whatever. Sign you up. Doing anything but sitting around doing nothing. Sitting around doing nothing is like the enemy of your soul. You'll quickly dwindle away and be tired. And case in point, I was so tired going into this. Now I'm full of life. I could rip a phone book in half, maybe with just my pinkies. I don't know.
Hey, I think it helps when you get to talk with a friend.
Hell yeah,
100%. A lot more too.
100%.
Football's been kind to us. I gotta say, it's for the sport in general. It has been kind to us, and I know you and I will forever be grateful. Whatever the hell happens down the road, this time frame, it's been wonderful.
The stories that we have already alone have made it worth it, right? The things that we've done alone have made it worth it. The things that we were able to accomplish, the fact that we've done not a live show, multiple live shows every year. The show kind of went right into it and did our thing. Hey, sign us up. Doesn't always work that way. Trust me, I know. I have a whole basket of failures, but that's the thing. Nobody doesn't fail in life.
Right.
And if you don't fail, that means you're not doing anything.
It's how you pick yourself up and move forward from things you learn from that stuff.
I love to fail. I love failing. Failing is my favorite thing to do because then it just means, okay, I'm done with that project and I start a new one. And when it doesn't fail, then we're going on almost 7 years of newsroom, Zach. So
yeah.
It hadn't failed yet. And so sooner or later, you keep doing things. One of these things will stick. Is it going to make you a millionaire? No, I'll tell you firsthand. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even 100,000-aire. You know what I mean? But you know what? I'm a happy heir. I'm a happy heir. And that's sometimes that's all you got. Sometimes that's all you got is your look at life. Anyway, once I start talking and rambling like that, this is probably a sure sign that we should wrap things up. I already went over all the shill stuff. You know where to find us. You know where to follow us. But do the things. Do it. Click the Discord. All of that. Until next time, folks, sign you